Let's talk about kettlebell snatches. So kettlebell snatches are not something we see super often in our workouts. A lot of times we'll see dumbbell snatches. They're a great movement a lot of us are familiar with. Kettlebell snatches, like a lot of things, I can trade out that dumbbell for a kettlebell, do the same movement. But since we don't see it very often, it's good to kind of review the mechanics and make sure we're doing it the right way from the very beginning. So first of all, what I'm going to do is start with just a regular two-armed Russian kettlebell swing. So just really making sure my hinge mechanics are proper just with a regular old kettlebell swing. If my hinge isn't good, if my just basic kettlebell swing isn't great, then my single arm kettlebell swing, which I'm going to do in a second, and then ultimately my kettlebell snatch is not going to be great either. All right, so we're just going to check, first things first, make sure we're looking good with a regular kettlebell swing. Then what I'll do is go ahead and transition to a one-armed kettlebell swing. So same thing, just one arm, Russian kettlebell swing, keeping good midline stability, good hinge mechanics. And I'll do a few on each side to make sure I'm looking good with both arms. Okay? So from there, now what I'm going to do is go ahead and start turning that single arm kettlebell swing into a kettlebell snatch. And just like anything, the way we do this is with progressions. So if you notice when I'm doing my single arm kettlebell swing, if I get it up high enough and my grip is just a little bit loose, that kettlebell naturally is going to want to start to turn end over end on its own. So what I need to do is take advantage of that momentum to safely and mechanically efficiently turn it into a kettlebell snatch. So what I'm going to do is go to my single arm kettlebell swing, and then we're going to start thinking about bringing that elbow high and outside. Okay, now from here, what I'm going to do is go ahead, when I get just about the apex of one of those swings where my elbow is nice and high and outside, just like with a regular barbell snatch, I'm thinking about elbows high and outside. As I get to that kind of high position with my elbow, that bell is wanting to naturally swing itself over. I'm going to go ahead again, like I said, take advantage of that momentum and let it kind of curl around the outside of my wrist. Now, a lot of times people that do this wrong, and that kettlebell is going to flip over the backside of their hand, whack themselves in the wrist. Okay, that doesn't have to be that way. Instead, what I'll do is I'm going to kind of let it spiral around the outside of my hand, and I'm going to punch pretty aggressively up into the air. It's counterintuitive, but if I'm not if I don't take advantage of that momentum, that's where I get into, and I try to control. I'm scared a little bit. I'm worried that kettlebell is going to whack me in the wrist. So that is kind of when we get to the point where we start to hurt ourselves with that kettlebell hitting us in the wrist. So instead, what I want to do is take advantage of that momentum, but control it and aggressively punch my fist up in the air so that I finish with that bell wrapping around itself around the outside of my wrist and finish up standing up nice and tall. So we'll go Russian kettlebell swing, single arm, go elbow high and outside, and we'll go single arm kettlebell snatch. Okay, so these are hanging kettlebell snatches. And then we'll go down from the ground, same thing, but you notice that kettlebell is kind of working its way around the outside of my wrist, finishing when I'm standing up nice and tall. It's not flipping over the back of my wrist, okay? Now let's talk about transitioning from one arm to the next. A couple of ways we can do it. If we're doing hanging kettlebell snatches, I can go straight down into my next swing and then switch at the bottom. Or if we're working from the ground, just like with a dumbbell snatch, we can either transition on the way down or wait to transition till we get to the ground. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Things we're thinking about though, keeping our chest up, keeping our hips and our our hips and our spines locked together so we keep that good midline stability. Just like with a regular kettlebell swing, we don't want to let that kettlebell pull us out of position. And I'm thinking about controlling that kettlebell on the way up, letting that momentum work for me, letting that kettlebell work its way around the outside of my hand, and finishing standing up nice and tall.